The bloodshed and human suffering has been immense, and there's no end in sight to all of it. Russia's war on Ukraine officially hits the 2-year mark tomorrow. More than 10,000 civilians have been killed. Many times that number have been injured. For months now, the front line has changed by the smallest of margins. But one thing that definitely has not changed is Ukrainians' resolve to save their country and win back lost territory. The assault on Ukrainian cities grinds on. This is the port city of Odessa overnight. Local officials say at least 3 people died there in a Russian drone strike in a commercial area. It's attacks like this one that united an international coalition to help Ukraine's defense. Countries have donated hundreds of billions of dollars worth of weapons. There have been tough sanctions, too, and more are coming today from both the United States and its European Union allies.
Making sure that Russia can't get access to the goods they need to build the weapons that they want, and also taking responsibility for slowing down Russia's access to the revenues they need to prop up their economy, but also to build the weapons that they want going forward.
We'll get full details on Washington's measures when they're revealed later on today, but we already know more than 500 individuals and entities will be targeted. The anniversary of the war, 2 years tomorrow, it is happening in the shadow of the death of Alexei Navalny 1 week ago today. And of course, ahead of presidential elections in mid-March in Russia that analysts say will see Vladimir Putin re-elected for another term. There are so many parts to this story overlapping, and Abby Kugathasan is covering it all for us as she joins us live from Berlin. Abby, the EU has issued sanctions throughout the 2 years of this war, and there you are in Berlin. What's your sense of the overall assessment in the European Union when it comes to the war effort to this point?
Heather, compared to this time last year, there is certainly dwindling hope around Ukraine's war effort here on the European continent. That follows a counteroffensive that many here see as having widely failed. Now, if we take a look at the map of Ukraine, we see that some of that territory is, of course, under Russian occupation. About 18% of Ukrainian territory is under Russian occupation. And the Institute for the Study of War says that about 5 million Ukrainians live in this territory where Russian forces are. Now, in terms of battles, recently Ukrainian troops withdrew from the eastern town of Avdiivka after months of heavy fighting. That town has very much been on the front line for several years now. There were heavy losses on both sides. We may never know the true numbers in terms of Russian troop deaths, but some reports suggest more than 45,000 soldiers died fighting in that town. And experts will say that Russian President Vladimir Putin does not seem fazed by these losses, that he is going to let the war grind on and keep his goal in mind of taking some of that territory. Now, there's a Free Russia forum happening right now in Vilnius. One of our producers is there. She sent us this footage. She also spoke to a former member of the Russian parliament. He's a staunch critic of Vladimir Putin. Here's what he had to say.
Putin crossed all lines. He's ready for any type of crime, maybe except using nuclear weapons, because he fears his own death. The person who is not a man, who is not a human being at all. He avoid of all human features. No regrets, no mercy, nothing, no morality.
Analysts say Putin is very much playing the waiting game. He sees that a $60 billion aid package for Ukraine is stalled in Congress right now. He also sees a presidential election in November, which could see a Donald Trump enter the White House in January, a Donald Trump who may not see providing any support to Ukraine as being part of his priority list. That will put a smile, Heather, on Vladimir Putin's face, but it's already sending chills down the spine of European leaders across various capitals here.
So just getting some breaking news, Abby, as you've been reporting to us live from Berlin, in terms of the Russian response to those EU sanctions. Russia has expanded the blacklist of EU representatives, and according to TASS, Russia considers these EU sanctions illegal, so it's aware of them, responding to them. And I'm wondering what the European Union nations are looking at next. What else could they be doing? And again, particularly based on what you were just saying, especially if U.S. support were to decrease.
Well, certainly the European Union is not doing what the United States is doing. The numbers certainly don't lie. Out of Washington, more than 42 billion euros in military aid has been provided to Kyiv. Second on that list is Germany with just under 18 billion. And some analysts say that if the support dries up in Washington, European countries would have to at least double their aid to Ukraine to make up for that shortfall. When we talk about weapons, European countries have repeatedly said that their stockpiles are dwindling. When we talk about ammunition, they say they're ramping up production, but they can't produce it as fast as Ukrainian troops need it. Now, on the ground, across that more than 1,000-kilometer front line, Ukrainian troops are being told to limit firing rounds to no more than 2,000 rounds per day. Meanwhile, Russian forces are firing 10,000 rounds a day. So there's a massive discrepancy there. That is a massive concern, not only for Ukrainian officials, but European Union officials as well. Another concern here in Europe, Heather, is war fatigue. We've heard European officials like Meloni and Orban talk about this. European officials in Brussels say that is absolutely not the case. They will support Ukraine for as long as it takes, but critics say they should be saying do whatever it takes, and they're calling on Europe to step up to the plate.